Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. This is Ascender's virtual space. My name is Anya Aleman, Innovation Director here at Ascender. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. If this is not your first time, welcome back. It's always nice to see familiar faces, friends, and whatnot. For those of you who are new to Ascender Space, Ascender is Pittsburgh's community for entrepreneurs. We offer educational programs, mentorship, expert coaching, business incubation, and run an entrepreneur-focused co-working space near Bakery Square. Ben, our program coordinator here, will be sharing lots of links and resources for you in the chat box so that you can learn more about Ascender and so that you can get connected with all of our events and upcoming resources that we have for you. We're all here for today's great session. I am very excited to introduce our speaker today, Dennis Guy, co-founder and CEO of First Sip Brewbox, to join. And this is one of the first times for Dennis to join our community event space, although he has been with us for many years. Dennis went through our incubator program a couple of years ago. So it's like a really great sort of like full circle to have him here as an expert. Dennis has had firsthand experience helping with video and digital marketing many small business owners. He helps them with elevating their brand, refining their brand's voice, and also how to craft ideas and brainstorming new ideas about video marketing and how to do that effectively. Right now, marketing is moving to a lot of videos, so we want to make sure that all of you business owners and entrepreneurs are really up to date in regards to like what are the best practices of your video marketing and how can you learn more from Dennis. But I'll let him introduce himself and also tell us a little bit more about his company and then what we will cover in today's session. So without further ado, Dennis, you can take it away.
Thank you guys so much for having me on today. And I can't say enough great things about Ascender. Back when my wife and I started First Sip Brewbox, we were still working out of our house, just a couple of entrepreneurs. And it felt so good to just have a place where we can have meetings, where we can go and be surrounded by other entrepreneurs. I have slept on the couch at Ascender so many times, so many nights. So I can't say enough great things about Ascender giving us a home as we built up and scaled up our company, where I'm proud to say now we have our own 2-story building, 9 employees. So we have grown a bit over the years, but thank you guys so much for having us on. I definitely appreciate it. So a little bit about us, because I think it's important to know, like, who the heck is this guy? No pun intended, Dennis Guy. Who the heck is this guy talking to us today? Like, why should I even listen? So we started First Sip Brewbox a little over, pretty much about 6 years ago now. Like I said before, we started in the house, grew it from absolutely nothing, bootstrapping our own funds and everything together. Our company originally, the foundation of it, we work with craft breweries around storytelling, specifically in the beer space, with breweries all over the world. So we do that through our subscription box, through storytelling, through merchandise. And it's crazy to think how much our brand has changed over the years. I would say about 2 years ago, we reached out to a company to do some video production for us. And we wanted, to have an idea of how much it would cost, how much, should we budget? And they said, well, Dennis, it starts off at $5,000. I was like, that is like pretty much all of our marketing budget for the entire year. There's no way we could afford $5,000 on one video. So then we had to start learning and doing things on our own a couple of years ago. So it started off just buying a webcam, just, practicing interviews. And I remember, so we started a little, a YouTube series, The Daily Sip, where we would go around to breweries, we'll set stuff up, we'll interview people. And I remember some of the first conversations I had with some of the folks, some of the brewery owners. I was like, look, I don't know how to edit. I have no idea what I'm doing. So let's not mess up, because I have no idea how to edit anything. And that really put the pressure on. But, just starting with that one webcam and then building up to slowly piecing together a lot of the equipment and everything we have today. I'm proud to say about 6.5 months ago, First Sip Studios was born. We initially created it just as an internal arm to do our own content marketing, then we saw a lot of other small businesses out there, hey, you guys do such a great job. Can you do what you're doing for yourself for us? And initially we're like, no, we can't. No, we just wait. And then my wife and I, we talked about, we're like, why not? Why can't we do it for others? So that led to the creation of First Sip Studios. And since we launched that 6 months ago, we have had the pleasure of working with so many small businesses. And we'll go into it when I show you guys some stuff, but we created a program called the SIP program, Share Your Purpose, because there's so much out there. A lot of folks think they should only share content around what they do. For example, a brewery, they're just sharing what beers they have, which is great. Like, that's a great starting point, but there's more to your story, your purpose, and your journey than just what you do. Who makes up your business? What's your story? How did you get started with your business? And that's some of the stuff that we'll dive in today. So I'm excited to get started there. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. As questions come up throughout, please throw them in the chat. I'm sure Ben would go ahead and let me know as things come up. I'm more than happy to answer things as we go or answer questions to the end, just so everyone knows. That is literally my favorite part. I love answering questions. So anything that pops into any of your minds, jot it down. Legitimately, no such thing as a stupid question. So speaking of stupid questions, I'm not used to sharing my screen. We just practiced. Let me make sure I get this right. So as I said before, I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right screen. We are First Sip Studios. We're a First Sip brew box company. So our company's kind of structured. So you have First Sip, it's the creative. Just out of curiosity, do you guys still see me or do you only see the slideshow?
We can see both.
Okay, cool. Just didn't know what to do with my hands. All right. So how we're structured, you have First Sip, which is the creative idea. Like, we figure out where to go with the story that you're trying to tell. Then below First Sip, you have First Sip Brew Box. So maybe you want to do a campaign or, through storytelling with physical goods and merchandise, and we can kind of put that stuff together. And you have First Sip Studios, which is more the visual storytelling, whether it's through photography or videography. And we think of ourselves more as video consultants, not just a video production company, because we try to help you understand like what your problem, like whatever obstacle that you're facing, and how we'd recommend that video photography storytelling can kind of overcome that. So from there, who's this workshop for? So it's for small businesses that are interested in content creation, similar to our journey. Maybe you're at the point budget-wise where you can't just afford to go out and spend, $3,000 to $10,000 to have a company come in and do everything for you, the pre-production, production, and post-production. You want to just start piecing stuff together for yourself. So it's kind of, the ideas that we're going to be talking about today, and when to outsource if it makes sense and everything. So a fun fact that we came across was 75% of customers never make it past the first page or your website. So being able to have some type of video content there to kind of capture their attention, to increase conversions. And that's not just this guy saying that, that's HubSpot. They're kind of a big deal. So I wanted to put kind of set the pace here. So storytelling, and this is a quote from one of my favorite mentors that we look up to, Mr. Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know how many people out there, shout out in the chat if you guys know who Gary V is. We legitimately built the whole foundation of our business based upon some of his teachings out there, some of the heart and hustle and the grind, and the importance on being, contextualizing and putting out as, a lot of different unique pieces of content to get your story out there. So it's what we all do. It's why Nike is Nike, Apple is Apple. It's why Walt Disney built Disney World. It's why Vince McMahon makes $1 billion. So really think about what makes your business unique, what makes you unique. It could be part of your journey of what got you there as a business owner. It could be, how you grew up. That plays into what makes your journey unique, and how to capture that and share that with your audience. People do business with people. And as soon as you can humanize your brand and your business, that's when you're going to start seeing those conversions. And I know it's intimidating at first, and part of this is finding your own voice too. So find your own voice. Not everyone will be fantastic being on camera, and that's fine. Maybe you're a writer. Maybe you're more, of an audio driven person. You enjoy maybe more of a podcast feel. Figure out what your voice is. And again, this is mostly for small businesses where you only have a couple people on your team. Because if you're a larger business, you could probably just hire someone specifically for video. But as you're a startup, as you're a smaller company, figure out where you're comfortable and double down on that space. Video is still extremely important, but don't let, the thought of, I'm too nervous in front of the camera. I'm just not going to post. Don't let any of that be an excuse why you're not posting out there on social media. And this is what we explain to our clients all the time. As we're pulling them in through the SIT program, we initially do an audit on what platforms are you on, how often are you posting? And trust me, we have heard everything. Well, I want the post to be absolutely perfect. And that may take me a few days. So I only post maybe once a week. Just put it again. I can empathize. We weren't always posting 300 unique pieces of content across 7 different platforms every single month. We weren't always that way. It's the same way how you eat an elephant. Don't eat an elephant. That's mean. That's terrible. Don't do that. But the old adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Slowly build up to it. So as far as globally, there's 17 total different social media platforms out there, and it reaches 4.6 billion users. I don't know how many people are out there right now, but I would assume that's between 60 and 70% of the entire planet. Now, I know you don't see 17 different icons on here. These are most of the relevant social media platforms. A lot of the other ones make up, the other side of the world, Asia, maybe Europe. There's a lot of specific social media platforms on that side of the world. Definitely do some research if you folks do any international business, because there's probably some platforms out there, other platforms out there that you could be on if you do a lot of overseas business as well. But again, know what makes you comfortable, whether it's, like I said before, blogging, podcasting, whatever makes you comfortable, but find your voice. But for today's purposes, we're going to focus on video. So I thought that this was incredibly unique. So again, it talks about the number of social media users out there, the year-on-year change in social media users, average daily time spent, which is crazy. So the average person actually spends 2.5 hours on social media. Like, you don't think about that. And then probably when you go to audit your day, at the end of the day, when you say, I don't know what happened, I didn't go to the gym, I have no time left in my day, we're probably on social media a little much. But knowing that that's where your customers are and being able to engage them on social media, knowing that that's where they're spending a chunk of their day. Another piece I wanted to talk about a little bit. So posting frequency. Again, you might feel intimidated posting every single day, twice a day on certain platforms, but it's something that has to be done. And an easier way to do that would be if you create a long form piece of content. For example, part of our journey where we were going into those breweries and recording those daily sip episodes, we could take that 45-minute episode and cut it down, dozens of different ways, from doing, if we didn't have a photographer there or someone there to take photos, you could do screen grabs of the video and you could toss some quotes on there. You could pull just the audio out and do some audio quotes. You could make dozens of different types of posts, tweets, videos just from that one video. So I challenge each and every one of you to think, okay, if it's just me, how can I make the most out of that content or make the most out of video content? Try to record a 10-minute video, whether it's you talking about the different products that you offer, whether it's a customer testimony and or a review, or maybe you send out, if you're a product-driven company, you're sending products out for people to review. Embrace the power of influencers out there. And that's another thing. Maybe you're part of the video marketing. You don't even have to get behind the camera. You get other people to do it. Send your products out to review to different YouTubers and influencers out there. Have them create a piece of content. Challenge your customers to create a piece of content. Maybe you run a giveaway for the services and products that you offer by having your empower your customers to create a piece of video content. Then you could splice that up. You could put that on your website. Some of the folks out there that we network with in the creative space, whether they're a video production company, videographer, editor, we challenge them to make a video without picking up your camera, without picking up your phone. You can make videos without ever being on video, without ever recording a thing. You could go to different sites like Epidemic Sounds, Envato Elements. That's a big site that we use. There's millions of pieces of stock footage out there that someone already recorded. They uploaded to that site. Obviously, you make sure you're paying for all that stuff. You're paying for the commercial licenses that you can go ahead and use that footage commercially. Because if you don't, that's not good. You can end up being sued. So make sure you're paying for the right licenses to use that footage. But you can learn how to create videos without ever picking up that camera. And that's something every single one of us can do, whether or not, we're afraid to be on the camera or not. Obviously, picking up that camera, you have more control. You're creating your own type of emotion as opposed to using other stock footage out there. However, you can create video content without ever picking up your camera. So some of the pros and cons to creating your own video content. So the pros to doing it, you build a skill set that would help you know what to look for when you hire or outsource. So that's something we learned early on. So initially on our journey, we reached out, they gave us, these huge costs that we couldn't hope to surmount or pay. So we had to learn everything on our own. But now when we reach out to have folks, maybe we want to outsource a project to, maybe we have too many deadlines coming up, because we've done everything internally on our own, it gives you as the business owner an idea of what style you came up with that own voice for your brand. So what style you like, you can speak intellectually on what edits you want to make. So it could potentially save you money in the long run too. So let's say you do everything in-house, you learn the basic skill set, but over time, your brand grows and you could no longer afford, your time becomes more valuable than actually paying someone to do this. So now you hire someone either internally or you outsource it to another company. Now you know what you're looking for, and it's going to save you money in revisions and edits, because as soon as you see that video come out, you know specifically what you want changed. So you can end up saving money that way. You operate on your own deadlines. So if you also have the ability to do it internally, speed the execution. Okay, I know this holiday is coming up, or I want a video to support this monthly newsletter we're sending out, or you came up with a really, really cool, unique event that you want to do for your business. Once when you know that, you can go ahead and start structuring what type of video content that you specifically want to create, as opposed to outsourcing and working with the company. For example, someone like us, if you were to outsource a project to us, it's probably going to take 2 to 4 weeks, because it's just the workflow, the process that we have to go through, working with multiple clients simultaneously. But when you're doing things on your own and internally, it's up to you to set those deadlines. And I am a firm believer, once when you learn basic video editing, basic video content creation, it helps you become a better creative problem solver. You literally think of the world differently. I'll give you a great example. When I was piecing one of our veteran-owned, because we're also a veteran-owned business, so we wanted to create some in-house content around veteran-owned businesses the put out there into the ether. So as I was piecing that video together, think of every sound in real life. Like, it helps you think differently, from picking up a can to setting it down to opening it to breathing to yawning. Everything creates its own unique sound. And when you become, when you start editing videos together and you have to do sound design, it gives you a whole new appreciation for the world. You start seeing things differently. You hear someone walking down the steps. You don't just hear them walking down the steps. You hear their hand on the railing. You hear their hand on the railing, the ring on their fingers sliding down the railing. And it just gives you a better appreciation for the world. But it helps you when you look at other people's video content, your other competitors. When you have an idea of how to piece things together, you start thinking to yourself, wow, there's so much missing. There's a whole dimension missing from that video. So it helps you leverage your time more efficiently when you're putting these videos together, to be more impactful to your audience, to get them to draw that attention in, to create that call to action to your audience. So it gives you a better appreciation, not just for the world, but how you can mimic the world inside of the content that you create. So some of the cons to doing everything in-house: it is a bit of a learning curve whenever you get started. However, YouTube exists. You can, leverage thousands and thousands of different videos. Folks like myself and, beginners and other entrepreneurs and video production companies have created to kind of learn, and you could take it step by step. Now, obviously, if you need a video created for a campaign that you're running for the holidays and it's November, you might have to outsource that. You're not going to learn it in 30 days, but you have to start. You have to start watching those videos. Do small little projects internally just for yourself and have other folks look at it. You don't have to have other video production companies look at it, because they're going to be very technically driven. They're going to tell you what's technically wrong with it. Show it to your customers. I'm a big fan of getting a beta client. So getting one of your customers, where maybe you give them, some of your services for free. Get one of your prospects, one of your leads, or one of your existing customers, and just say, hey, I created this video. Let me know, like, if you are in the market, or maybe you find a prospect that is in the market, and just ask them, hey, what do you think about this? Would this get you to purchase my services? And tweak it based upon their answers. I'm telling you that would help you more than anything else when you learn the basics. And when you learn how to do your own basic videos, I mean, it's unlimited what you can do, from social media posts, from a more engaging newsletter, to email automation funnels where you can create a landing page with a nice video and everything. And again, nice is subjective. It doesn't have to be super clean, doesn't have to be 4K, doesn't have to be multiple angles. You have a clear call to action on there, and it doesn't look like you did it, in your grandma's basement. When you get the basics down, you could put together a nice video, put on that landing page, collect emails, use it as your top of funnel or your lead magnet. It definitely helps. And another con to doing everything in-house is kind of what I mentioned before, is you're a business owner, you're a founder, you have a million other tasks. If it gets to the point where, you're not going to get it done in time, that's when it's time to kind of look and outsource, or at least hire someone internally that has some of the basics down, that they can do some of the in-house content creation and everything for you. There we go. So before we get into some of the different equipment and everything, Ben, do we have any questions that I should answer beforehand?
Yeah, can you speak a little bit more about how you learned how to make better videos? Do you have any recommendations of those YouTube videos or other sites that can actually teach you some of those technical skills?
Absolutely. Honestly, I put everything together just on YouTube. But the biggest thing, you just got to do it. I would recommend, so on here on the software end, I would recommend Adobe Premiere Pro. That's what I learned on. That's an industry standard. Once so pretty much if you learn Adobe Premiere Pro, you could pretty much pick up any other software because a lot of the foundations are the same between them. But you could do Adobe's Creative Cloud, which I don't know. So officially, I will tell you to get their commercial license since you're using it. Their commercial license is a little expensive, but if you get like the individual license, for, one person to use, it's right around 30-40 bucks a month. And you can, once when you get that software, just learn one thing at a time. Put in DSLR shooter. He would help you pick out specifically like what gear to get. And then honestly, just YouTube how to create video for beginners in Adobe Premiere Pro. There is literally thousands of videos. Take it one step at a time. And like you said, at first, it's going to be terrible. You're going to make objectively bad videos. When I look back at the beginning of our journey on YouTube, do this if you're brave, but please don't do this. If you go back to some of our first YouTube videos, just Google or go to YouTube, look up First Hit Brew Box. I didn't even know how to adjust the frame size. So you had this little video square with this massive black border around it. I had no clue. Audio was terrible. I didn't know that everyone should have like their own mic or audio, mic positions, all that stuff. It is bad, but you're going to make bad videos, but you have to get through that before you can make better videos. You have to start. What else, Ben? What else we got?
Other folks have just been dropping in some other recommendations, so continue doing that. And if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to put them in the chat. But I think we're good, Dennis. Keep on going.
Sweet. So some of the hardware pieces you can start. So number one, you need something to capture that video. So it can be a webcam, just like we're all on right now. It could be your phone. Phones are insane. And when you actually break it down, like a lot of phones are, $800 to $1,200. That's more than a lot of entry-level cameras. So a lot of phones do a really good job now as well. Then you're looking at mirrorless cameras, DSLRs, or cinema cameras. So where to start there? You don't need to start with a cinema camera. And once you start on this journey, maybe you have made a couple videos and maybe it is a passion of yours. Know that not once has a customer ever asked, have they ever bought, your or a product, whatever the widget is. No one has ever bought that widget going, I wonder what camera they use this on. Oh, wait, it was a Canon? No, I only buy from companies that use Sony. That's never happened. So don't get so hung up on buying the latest and greatest, the most high-end camera, because if anything, the more that you spend on a camera when you're a beginner, it's just going to highlight the fact that you have no idea what you're doing, as well as it should. You're going to, because those high-end cameras, those cinema cameras are going to give you so much control over every aspect of what it does that at the beginning, you don't know. You have no clue. You're at the start of your journey. So I would recommend starting maybe with and it's totally fine starting with a webcam. It's totally fine starting with your phone. But if you were to choose a camera itself, I would start with a mirrorless camera. DSLRs are still great to use, but they're starting to go a little bit by the wayside. They're still really, really great. Mirrorless are somewhat replacing them. Just a form factor. They're smaller, they're lighter. They're easier to use, in my opinion. So we are a big Sony. We're part of the Sony gang. We love Sony cameras. And once when you choose your camera, if you end up going with something with interchangeable lenses, once you pick out said lenses, they're only going to work with that brand of camera, unless you end up getting into, using different adapters, and then you lose some functionality and things along those lines. But either way, don't get super hung up. If it's not in the budget to get a mirrorless camera or a DSLR, totally fine using your webcam or your cell phone. And then So think about your budget as a whole. Let's say you have $1,000 to spend. Maybe you stick with your webcam or you stick with your phone, and then you spend most of that in audio and lighting. And the reason being is because people, or especially audio, because people would tend to spend more time watching something if the video quality is okay, but the audio quality is really good. Have you ever watched a video where the audio was really, really bad? You can't stand it. You just click past it, you go on. But we're willing to be okay with audio or video quality not being 4K or 2K. We're totally fine with watching things in 1080p or 720p, but as long as the audio is great. So maybe spending more of your budget in some of your lighting and some of your audio. So now moving on to audio, there's different types of microphones. You have your lavalier mics, these little guys, let me make sure I get it. These little guys where you can actually clip them right on the person if you're interviewing someone, or right on yourself. You have shotgun microphones. Those are the big guys that you see on a lot of the different movie sets and everything like that. Those are really good if, let's say you have multiple people at once that you're trying to record audio for. Using the right placement, those are really good. And they're also good at being backup sources of audio. You have your dynamic and condenser mics. So an example of a dynamic mic is like something what I'm on right now. Unless you're in a soundproof environment or an environment where you have heavy control on reverb, that echo, I would stick with dynamic. Condenser microphones are mostly what you see in music studios and well, I guess right there, studios, where they're more of a soundproof room, because those condenser microphones are going to pick up a lot. Recommendations on beginners, I would say a lavalier microphone would do you really good. The same with a dynamic microphone. Dynamic microphones are extremely inexpensive. You can get them from anywhere from $30. Sure, you can spend up to, $500-600 on them. But I would say a sweet spot is probably right around $100 for a dynamic microphone. For a lavalier mic, a good price would probably, I would say, be right around 150. But those lavalier mics would get you really clean audio, especially if you're moving around a lot, where you don't, if you're stationary for the most part, basic dynamic microphones will work very well for you. Lighting, you're going to have portable, where you can easily move it around, battery operated, wall powered, and then you get into some multicolored. So some little guy, there we go. Little guys like this guy right here, where they're battery powered. You can kind of clip them different places as well. The big thing to focus on whenever you're choosing lighting is color accuracy. It's referred to as your CRI rating. So I would look at anything 85 and above is good, but more closer to 100 is better. A wonderful brand to stick with is Aperture. They make some of the best lighting out there, whether it's portable, some of their smaller MC lights that you could toss right on your camera to take it with you, up to, bigger studio lights. And they have their budget line, their Amaran line, really, really great stuff. It does both ends of the lighting spectrum. So more of your warmer, think like tungsten lighting, the whole way up to your very, very cool end of the lighting spectrum. So like your very, very bright, like LED, daytime kind of setting lighting. So my recommendation, in the beginning, is to find one that does bicolor, so it does both ends of the lighting spectrum, because light plays a big role in the emotion that you're trying to provoke in your videos. So you could start off small with there, but lighting is important. So at least get like a ring light or something, so that way you don't have just like a lot of shadows or different things like that. You want to be somewhat well lit, and well lit doesn't necessarily mean like bright light all around you. All right, so we talked about camera. So you're recording an image. Audio, you're recording, nice, crisp, clean audio. Lighting, you have a basic setup. So that way, whether you're just doing product videos or a talking head video like this, that your audience can see you. Your computer. So now comes to, and a lot of people don't learn this until way down the road. So in our journey, we first started out, oh man, I'm embarrassed to say this now, on a Surface tablet. And when I was editing these videos, I was like, why is this taking forever? Why? I just thought it was just part of the job. You're editing video, it should take 5 hours for it to export. I thought it was just part of it. Please do not make that mistake. Please do not edit videos on a tablet. Get a computer, get a desktop computer. Laptops for price for power they're gonna be way more expensive. I'd recommend going a desktop computer if possible. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try to sell you on Mac or PC, whatever you're most comfortable with. We're PC over here. It's just, that's what I grew up on. That's the first computer I ever built was a PC when I was 11 years old. So as far as like what specs nowadays to look into for a computer, you can get by with 16 gigs of RAM. So that's your computer's ability to multitask. You can get by on 16 gigs of RAM. However, that's fine in the beginning. And if you get a desktop that's upgradable, you can always upgrade that down. That's one of the most easiest things to upgrade down the road. But 16 gigs RAM, it's going to get you going. But when you start recording in 4K or anything like that, you're going to want to bump up to 32 gigs of RAM. Processor wise, you have AMD, you have Intel. They're both fantastic processor manufacturers. AMD, their Ryzen processors tend to be a bit better for multitasking. Adobe works well with them. High amounts of RAM work very well with them. I'd recommend at least an 8-core processor. That's your computer's ability to multitask. And when you are editing video, that if you start off with an 8-core processor, that's going to help you so much to where when you start getting these different transitions, different pop-ups that you want to do within your video, if you don't have a processor and the right amount of RAM to keep up with that, you're not going to be able to see what you're doing in real time. You're going to do what I had to do early on, which was export what you were doing as if you had a completed video, look at it and go, oh my goodness, that looks terrible. Let me go back in and change that. And it's going to add so many hours. And as a solopreneur or a small business or a startup, you don't have all that time. So if you're going to invest money into anything, please invest it into your computer. You could do videos with a webcam. If the choice comes down, do I get a camera or a computer? Get the computer. That's going to allow you to do a lot of your learning from scratch, where you can actually play around with different transitions and see how they operate in real time. Graphics card, you're going to want to have some type of graphics card, dedicated graphics inside of there. Now, unfortunately, with the supply chain and cryptocurrency miners and the silicon shortage and all that stuff, standalone graphics cards are very hard to find right now, and they're incredibly expensive. Do not buy a standalone graphics card. You are going to be paying 5 times of what it's actually worth. What I would recommend is buying a pre-built from like Lenovo. All right. So I promised I wasn't going to try to sell you guys on any specific manufacturer. However, the reason why I would push Lenovo a little bit more is because some of their Legion series computers, they don't give you so much proprietary parts on the inside. HP, you can get a good system. However, there's a lot of parts in there specifically made just for that unit. So whenever you go to upgrade, you really can't upgrade a lot in there. It's made to work just with that system. Lenovo does a pretty good job at giving you industry standard parts. So as you grow and as you become better at editing videos, and as time goes on, you want to update some stuff in there, it's going to give you more of an ability to do so. So like I was saying, get a pre-built computer, Best Buy, wherever you want to get, Amazon, Newegg, wherever you want to go. Try to get one that already has a graphics card inside of there. So you have NVIDIA, and that's probably what I would recommend for creatives to go, is try to get an NVIDIA graphics card in there. That's, again, going to help speed up your whole workflow when you're editing videos. It's nice if it has an NVMe drive. That's it's a solid state hard drive that speeds up the communication processes inside of your computer. Again, not to get too technical, if you kind of use this as a brief guide, like I said, RAM's easy for you to upgrade, but at least get, you know, an 8-core processor and a dedicated graphics card. That is a good foundation to give you that workhorse computer so you can get your videos edited in-house. And like I said before, some of the software out there, Adobe Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve, there's a dozen or so mainstream different video editing software out there. In my opinion, like I said, Adobe Premiere Pro, it would give you a good sound foundation. I love that they have the ability where you could just pay that monthly fee. You don't have to spend the thousands of dollars on the software itself. So that way, maybe you do it for 6 months and you realize, I think I'd rather outsource my video project needs. I don't want to learn how to do this anymore. At least you weren't in a couple $1,000s just for on the software itself. So Ben, do we have any questions so far on this part?
Question.
Yeah.
So Karen hosts events, and you know the main purpose of getting some of the videos is to show her customers having fun. She primarily shoots on her phone so she can, you know, host the event, but also not be too intrusive. But she also wants to have some music in the background. So do you have any recommendations on how to capture that music in real time, or is there a better way to maybe add in the music simply, you know, any apps on the phone where you can add in music to the video you've captured?
Great question. As far as adding music, so if we're talking, you know, like you want to do a Facebook Live or you're streaming the event, maybe StreamYard. There's more likely some streaming platforms out there that you can use that may have that functionality. There's also some hardware. Now, I don't know how mobile you are at these events. If you want to, if you know, having a laptop or something and having some hardware is, if it's in the question, you can get some streaming, like recording hardware that you can build some of that functionality in. So think of a video, kind of like a video switcher that you could just have a USB popped in with some music that if, as you're going around and you're streaming this event, you can switch over to that, play some of the music in the background. Now, if you can't do any hardware and you're able to do this in post, so in post-production, so you have already recorded everything, I would recommend going to Envato Elements. They have an extensive music library, all commercial use that you can use. You want to stick away from using any artists, you know, popular artist-driven songs, because they can come after you from using those. And that's another tidbit. If you, for all those fun TikTok videos, which everyone should be on TikTok. If you have a business, you should be on TikTok. Just be careful with some of the, you know, like using Drake's music and stuff on your videos, because you can get down the, I don't think it's anytime soon, but down the road you can get in trouble for using some of that stuff. So try to stick to some commercial use stuff. But yeah, it's pretty simple. So I'm not sure about using some phone apps to add music, but again, on the Adobe side, paying the $30 a month or whatnot for Adobe, you can literally pull in the video that you recorded, pull in the music, and that's it. You can get fancy with it. You can chop up the video to when the music hits like certain beats and create your transitions and stuff that way. But it's pretty simple. It's going to seem a little tough at first, but if you're already recording that video, literally just get software that you can work in. Again, Adobe Premiere Pro, you'll pull in what you recorded, pull in the music that you want to use from Envato Elements, pull that stuff in, and you pull that music right in and just export it. Essentially, it's that easy. And you could slowly over time build up, okay, maybe I want, you know, the bass dropped here, I want to make a transition, and you could get fancy over time, but essentially it's that easy. Anything else we got there, Ben? Or questions on any hardware? Good?
I think we're good to go.
All right, sweet. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about automation, because again, everything's predicated on you're either a solopreneur, small team, or no one really has the skill set to run social media. So no matter what you have to post, you have to get, your video content, you have to get the content out there. And it can be intimidating at first. There's a bunch of different platforms for you to post on. You can leverage technology like Buffer. That's one thing that we use. We're probably, oh my goodness, I think we have like 9 or 10 different, we're on 7 different social media platforms, but running First Sip Brewbox and First Sip Studios, it doubles up on some of those platforms. Buffer helps out a ton. You could sit down one day a week, schedule out your posts on all your platforms. Now, it's not to say you can't post something in the moment, do stories, do reels, do a Facebook Live, Instagram Live. You can do things like that, but that would get the foundation of your posts and everything automated and sent out. So Buffer would help a lot to automating that process for you. And also like keeping other things in mind. I know the point of this isn't to talk a lot about CRMs, but I want you guys and girls and folks out there to think, how can I use technology to help my workflow? Using things like a CRM, a customer relationship manager, to automate all your leads, all your prospects, using databases like MailChimp, Constant Contact to set up email workflows and automations. So as people learn about you, you already have 6 emails scheduled to go out. They get hit with an email once every 3 or 4 days. That keeps them entertained about your brand. So that gives you more time on the creative side that you're learning how to do this, the video stuff. So by leveraging other pieces of technology would give you more time to learn this stuff. And when you get the basics down, there's so much that you can do. They say you can create that email automation funnel. So as soon as people get on your emailing list, they get 6 different emails, and you can contextualize that video for every step of the journey to nurture that lead. That's then updated in your CRM, that you have, your sales or marketing folks or yourself as a business owner wears so many different hats to kind of dive into and follow up with them as well. And you can start off by using, I should have mentioned this before, but Adobe Rush it's one of those auto video editors where you can dump some video footage in, choose a template, and it'll spit something out. Sometimes it's terrible. Sometimes it's pretty decent. But if it's one of those, I want to just get something out, I don't have time to learn the basics, you can use something like Adobe Premiere Rush. And it can shoot it straight out to your different social media platforms. You can, integrate it directly with Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, that kind of stuff. But again, if you take the time to learn the basics, you have more control over what you're putting out. And in the end, it's a better result doing it that way. But if you're just buried and wearing so many other hats, Adobe Rush will get you something that you can use as well. So that is the majority of everything that we had. I know we covered a lot, from why you want to use storytelling to the basic technology that you need, how to put it, kind of all together as well. So I want you guys, I want to use the bulk of this time for questions. Use this time to be selfish, like legitimately ask specific questions about your business. How can creative storytelling and visuals help you overcome your obstacles? So I want you to think, how you would leverage video, and just ask those questions. Be selfish, use this as your time. So Ben, let's hear what we got.
Yeah, so drop your questions in the chat, or feel free to just unmute yourself and ask Dennis. But to get us started, we do have a couple that were sent to me privately, and we have one in the chat as well. So is there a CRM you are using now or you suggest?
So a lot of that's going to be industry based, whether or not you're a nonprofit. I mean, there's hundreds of CRMs. If you're a nonprofit, they have specific CRMs that are more dedicated to you. Food service, restaurant specific CRMs dedicated to you. But if you're more of a service based business, I think, so a good one that we use is Zoho CRM. It's all cloud-based, so you don't have to have any on-site, servers or a lot of software or anything downloaded right in your system. It's a good CRM to use. And I've used some of the largest CRMs in the world in previous careers, SAP, Business One, which is more enterprise level, Salesforce, which is amazing, but unrealistic for the small business owner. Zoho CRM, it's roughly $20 per user that you have. So on our team, we have probably 5 different logins, so around $100 a month. The cool thing is you can segment out all your leads that you have in there. So for example, we have a media and PR person, we have a vendor relations person, and we have a marketing person, and you can tag all those leads going into that CRM and assign them to each individual person that makes sense for them to have access to those leads. So that way it keeps it nice and organized. You schedule follow-ups because we all need to prospect. We can't sit there, wait for the phone ring or, wait for that email. You have to constantly be prospecting. So if you have a goal for your team, ours is they must reach out to at least 15 folks in their individual, verticals every single day that they come in and work. So at the end of the week, that's 30, 45 people they reached out to. At the end of the month, that's over 100. So how can you realistically follow up with over 100 people? That's just month one. 6 months go by, it's 600. How are you going to follow up with them? That CRM will help organize and automate those pieces and everything in there for you. And that changed the game for us. There was so much business we lost out over the years because with it just being my wife and I, we were reaching out. We had a lot of these potential like big deals, but we're doing so many other things we'd forget. And by the time we follow up that process, they already moved on to something else or working with someone else now. That CRM makes sure that you do not miss out on those opportunities.
So we have Dennis here until 5:30, so don't feel like you can't ask more questions. But the next one we have is a 2-part question. So the first part is, how do you, what do you recommend small businesses do to actually come up with ideas for these types of videos? Where should they look? Who should they look at? What should they be focusing on? And then the second part is, once they have that bank of ideas, what's the process from turning that idea into an actual video? Should they be jotting down clips they need to record, people they need to talk to? What's that process look like?
No, fantastic question. I'm going to ask you, once I answer the first part, probably to tell me that second part, Ben, because once I get down there and down that rabbit hole. All right. So how do you come up with ideas? Number one, I would say, look at your competition. Look at whoever that next, like, I don't want to say next level up, but we all have the competition that feels like they have unlimited marketing budgets. Look at what they're doing. Is it successful? Like, use them as your R&D department. They're spending all that money. Figure out if it works or not. Then once you have that idea, after you've already established like what's my voice, like what is kind of, and you might not know this yet, but trying to figure out what that emotion, what that look and feel like, what your company's all about. And so after you look at your competition, you know what you stand for, you can try to, kind of use that and make it make sense for you. Honestly, I think TikTok and Pinterest is great for motivation. Pinterest, that's the whole premise of the platform, is, being inspired. But going on TikTok, just type in, video production, and they'll walk you through like different ideas, or just YouTube. And it's kind of hard to give you an answer on this without knowing exactly what type of business you are. But think of what you're trying to solve, right? Like what's your obstacle? What are you trying to solve? And then have fun with it. If you're a super corporate brand, that's fine too. But if you want to have a little bit more uniqueness in there, you have to start off by finding out like what your voice is, who you are. Practice with creating a video about your journey, because that can help you find out who you are as a business and who you are as an organization and the people on your team. Try to document a little bit about your journey and create, a couple-minute clip, a 5-minute clip, share that out there, because I think that would be a great starting point to figuring out how to contextualize and how to shape all of your other videos that come after that. What was the second part, Ben?
The second part is, how do they actually make that idea real, like into reality? Do you recommend a shot list? Should they storyboard? How detailed should they get when they're just starting out?
So yeah, shot lists are great. Storyboards are amazing. However, how should I put this? If you focus so much on a lot of those, you're going to get stuck in analysis by paralysis. Oh, my storyboard's not perfect. Oh, well, maybe I should add this to my shot list. Honestly, until you're getting to the point where you're doing a lot of videos and you have the basic workflow down, that stuff is going, and they're good structures. It's good best practices. We do it for projects. But you just need to start. Download that software to help you edit. Get whatever, if you're using your cell phone, great. If you're using a webcam, great. If you're starting, like if you have some type of camera background where you've used cameras before, awesome. You need to pick it up. You need to hit record. That's it. You need to press record. You're not going to learn how to do anything until you start recording, till you start trying to put a story together. And then you're going to learn more than going to college and a university and going to film school. You're going to learn more just by doing than going to those. Like now, after you have the basic foundation down, then you can start looking at story design. You can start looking at how to structure different arcs. You can start looking at, okay, as an editor, and there's also different parts that you're going to learn from just picking up the camera and doing it and being an editor. So as you start editing, you're going to learn, oh man, so I'm having a tough time transitioning from A to B. It's going to teach you that as you record to create those transitions, but you're not going to learn how editing and story design and filming is going to come into play until you do pieces of that. That's my recommendation. How are you going to get started? How are you going to make this a reality? By pressing record. What else we got?
Do you have any best practices for length of time when it comes to TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook?
I think that's heavily predicated on what you're doing. Like, what's the point of what you're recording, what you're putting together? However, each platform has its own limitations too, as far as record time. TikTok started out being 15 to 30 seconds. Now I believe they're up to 3 minutes, so you can get more of that longer form content. What I would recommend is whatever you're trying to solve or the reason of what you're creating, create a long form format of it. Whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's 10 minutes, even if it's a 45-minute like interview style where you're talking, maybe you have a panel or you're talking about different things. By creating that long form, you have so much to work with. You can pull out 15 seconds, put it on TikTok. You could pull out 30 seconds, run it on a Facebook ad. You can put the whole thing on YouTube, which doesn't have a limit to drive traffic there. It's all going to be based on why you're creating that video, what platform you're putting it on. But we have found a lot of success in creating a longer form, 5, 10, 45-minute. And I know 45-minute may seem like it's intimidating, but think of, you're just sitting down with somebody discussing a topic. You have a couple mics set up, just have a list of questions or whatever the premise is that you're talking about. And then you could pull 15-second, 30-second, 1 minute. And then as you get better at putting those together, you could make a nice 30-second to 5-minute, video clip from that longer format as well. So learn the video length limitations of each platform that you want to be on and that your company and your business is on, and shoot a goal and think about, how can I create a longer format of content for whatever I want to create? So that way you have oh my goodness, you can create a whole month's worth of content with that one longer format video. So that's kind of some of the things that I would think about.
Lauren just asked if you have any resources that you recommend for learning TikTok, for getting more familiar with TikTok.
Oh man. So I don't have like any resources right off shooting from the hip. Well, I guess I kind of do. Gary V that I mentioned earlier, Gary Vaynerchuk, fantastic serial entrepreneur. He has been preaching LinkedIn and TikTok for I would say the last year and a half, 2 years. He has put out a lot of, why your business needs to be on TikTok, how to get started on TikTok. Start as a consumer. Go on there, consume content. Because a lot of people told us this early on, oh, it's just for kids, it's for teenagers. Well, guess what? Facebook was for college students. How is it now? People in college now don't even have Facebooks most of the time. It's aged up to the point where, it's my generation and, older. We're all on Facebook. A lot of our employees who are university students, they don't even have a Facebook. Facebook aged up. How did Instagram start? Instagram started for photographers. Now influencers and businesses are all over Instagram. Don't look at how a platform is today. Think about where it's going to be in 5 or 10 years. And TikTok and LinkedIn still are the only platforms that have a ridiculous amount of organic growth. Every other platform is a pay to play. You have to, now you can, yes, you can get a viral video. Yes, you can do all that, but it's tough. It really is tough. Most of the videos that you're going to be creating are to engage your current platform that you have, and you're going to be using them to run ads and everything on, and to get more email subscribers and that kind of stuff. TikTok is, oh man, there's so many people that have grown, up to 50,000, 1 million subscribers. You need to get and that's another thing, you need to get your handles, whatever your company's name is. You need to go to every single social media platform that's mainstream for where you do business and get your handles. If you take anything away from this, it's press record and get those handles. Don't wait for someone else to scoop your business handle and now you can't be on TikTok. Now you have to have John's, pub at 412 or Johnny Rocket 69, on TikTok because someone else has your business name now. Secure those handles, number one, and then kind of, learn from there. Oh man, I just realized I put my email at dennis@firstatbrewbox.com. Don't do that. Don't put .com in there. It's not going to make it to me. All right. What else we got, Ben?
I'm going to take a pause for a few seconds, just if people do have questions and want to unmute themselves and ask. Go ahead.
This is your time to be selfish. Let's hear it. I know you guys are thinking.
While people get the courage to ask some questions, another one that I received is, if they're just starting out, does it make sense to, capture and edit the videos within the different social media platforms? Is that an okay place to start? Or would you recommend capturing it through like the video app on your iPhone?
So just so I understand the question, Ben, is it when you're saying you like doing a Facebook Live, like recording it directly on the platform?
I think the asker is saying like, in Instagram or in TikTok, you can capture video directly, right, and edit it directly in their platform, in their app.
Right. So I think that's a fine place to start. But at some point, complacency is going to hit, and you're going to, I don't want to say paint with a broad brush, but again, as entrepreneurs, we have so many things going on that if we stick to just capturing content within the app itself, we never take that extra step to actually run it through, put it into software, learn how to do the edits, learn how to structure things. So I think that's perfectly fine. That's better than not capturing your own video content. But I would still say there's nothing stopping you from doing both. Record it just so you're getting videos and everything like that. Record it right in the app itself. And TikTok's a great example of that. They actually have a really good app where you can layer different music. They do the cuts and transitions for you. I think it's wonderful. But do it in parallel. Work within the app just so you're getting video content out there now, but also learn the basics, because once when you learn the basics, you're going to realize, oh, there's so many other things that I could have done that make my videos more impactful just by learning, the basics of Adobe Premiere or DaVinci Resolve or that kind of stuff, or having someone on your team learn that stuff. So I guess the best answer would be do it in parallel. Get the video content out there now if you don't know a ton about like doing some of this stuff by working within the apps. And then also still spend an hour a week learning how to do it in the software itself.
TJ asked about storage. We all know that video takes up a lot of data and storage. So any recommendations on where to keep content, and then also like share content if you need to share it with a teammate or someone else?
Man, this is a fun one. I'm definitely a hardware nerd. So we probably have about 60 terabytes of storage where we keep different projects and everything like that. So I would say actually right now, Best Buy has some pretty great deals on Western Digital external hard drives. You could probably get a 14 terabyte for a couple $100. Not saying that you'll need a 14 terabyte or anything like that, but it gives you enough places to work around with. That's also depending on the format in which you're recording. If you're recording 1080p, you're fine with like a 4 or so terabyte external hard drive. As soon as you step into 4K, that's when it's soaking up a lot of room. I'm a big fan of redundancies. So if you have the budget, get a couple external hard drives, have one being a mirror of the other. Or if you just have the one external hard drive, also invest in some cloud storage. Cloud storage is great if you have someone else that you need to share some of your video content and everything with, or that external hard drive I had mentioned earlier. You can create a network attached storage device where it's connected directly into your router, and then over your internal network, you can access that drive from multiple locations, wherever your computers are on that network, and you could also remote into that external hard drive. But again, big fan of redundancies, because if something happens to that drive on your computer, if something happens to one external hard drive, or heaven forbid you get a virus that corrupts your entire operating system, think of redundancies, have those redundancies in place so you don't lose that whole year's worth of footage, that whole year's worth of content, because a lot of times that stuff cannot be replaced.
We have another technical question.
Yeah.
If you're creating a long form piece of content, do you recommend deleting the raw footage, or would you advise to keep it indefinitely?
So that depends on what storage you have. If you have the budget to get a couple terabytes on an external hard drive, I'm a big fan of keeping the raw footage, because you might, all right, so let's say you completed that project and all you have is that project file. Anything that you edited and cut out may not be available there anymore. And that raw footage has value. So let's say you work with somebody, and let's say you end up becoming good at doing this video editing stuff, and someone wants to hire you guys to actually, do some stuff for them. That raw footage is worth a lot more than that completed file if they wanted to buy that footage off of you. So I would say it's all predicated on your storage requirements. If you're like at your hard drive's at 99%, yeah, get rid of the raw footage. But I'm a big fan of keeping raw footage if you can.
Hey, Dennis.
Yes.
Man, first of all, thank you for your energy. I think you took about maybe 1 or 2 breaths this whole time. So I really appreciate that. And I heard you talking about a lot about TikTok. And I'm just trying to see, I'm in the business to business space. I do energy efficiency. Like, how would TikTok fit into something like that?
Great question. Gordon, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right, Gordon. Fantastic question. So if you're in the B2B space for energy efficiency, I would think, so everyone has a household. So, as business owners, we have a household, we have a family. So on TikTok, even though TikTok right now, it is aging up, who influences buying decisions for the household? A lot of times it's the kids. A lot of the times it's the wife, that influencer's buying decision. So if you find a unique way to make like either comedic, it's not, you're probably not going to be super successful on TikTok doing like very, very corporate-y type of videos. But if you like just find a way to make it fun, and then someone in the household's going to talk about it, and then they're going to bring it up to, the decision maker, the business owner. But also it's helping build up your platform now. You're going to be taking advantage of the organic growth now as TikTok ages up. And you see it every day. More, NFL, movie stars, everyone, every single day, more and more people are slowly getting on board with TikTok. So I would say just play around with it, see how it works for you, and just make it fun. And you can even do like podcasty like clips. So maybe I don't know if you have like a podcast or any way to record longer form content that you can pull those clips out of and put them on TikTok. But for example, everyone's TikTok shows up a little differently on their For You page. My For You page is literally like video production. It's comedians, it's podcasts, like posting clips on there. So if you start now, I could definitely foresee you like becoming like that brand authority in the B2B space as TikTok continues to age up.
Got it. Thank you.
You are welcome. I love these questions, and make them as specific to your business as possible. You don't have to worry about making sure that this question plays out to everybody. This is your time to go ahead and jump in and ask whatever you want.
So we have a few more. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, since I'm gonna be greedy.
Do it.
So, again, so I know I'm a lot over on LinkedIn. Like, what's your suggestions, or kind of, because, LinkedIn is pretty, that's the business, it's not like the other ones where you come in to really have fun. You're going there for business. So what's your kind of guidance on that platform?
Now, another great question, Gordon. So I would say LinkedIn historically has been, very corporate-y, press release, like that kind of stuff. But if you want to stand out, do something that, have a little fun. I know you had mentioned that all the other platforms are for fun. Have a little fun. I'm not saying share your vacation to Bermuda on LinkedIn, but if you have a little fun, like with your business and on LinkedIn, you'll stick out. Everyone on there is posting, this press release, that press release. When that stuff's all well and good, definitely do that. But, maybe make a 2-minute clip about what makes who makes up your business, Gordon? Like, do you have employees? What's their story? Like, why did you start what you did in your background, in your past? What makes you different? Do something like that, post it on LinkedIn. But to make sure that a lot of people see it, this is also what we teach on the through our SIP program. It's all about thinking where you want your company to go. Like, what's the goal of your company? In 5 years, how big do you want to be? Who do you want to work with? Go in on LinkedIn, connect with all those people that work at those companies. This is a long-term strategy. LinkedIn only allows you to make 25 connections a day until you have to start paying for it. So for years, I had a plan of everyone that I wanted to work with, all the new, my goal is to be, back in the day, it was to be featured on Forbes, Bloomberg, liquor.com, Cosmo, like all those platforms. So I went through and I followed and connected with all the editors, all the folks that work at those companies for years, did that. And it's crazy when they reach out to you after you're posting a lot on LinkedIn. And over the years, what happened? We've been featured in Forbes, liquor.com, Cosmopolitan, like all that stuff, have written articles about some of the great work that we do. But that's part of the LinkedIn strategy. Connect with the people that you want to see your content. Have fun with some of the content that you create. Make it a little different than the normal corporate press release stuff that's on LinkedIn, and post every day. Post twice a day. Tag people in the comments, like, hey, as you connect with those people, tag them. Hey, so-and-so, I'm just curious, like, what's your point of view on this topic? Go in on those pages of the folks that you want to connect with, add value to, it's not that you're there to sell, you're there to add, like, ask really good questions. And over time, and that's the same for every single platform, like especially on LinkedIn, and over time, those things that you do, they're going to add up. And if you do have a sales staff or anyone else marketing on your team, Gordon, give them daily goals. Hey, on our business page, I want you, and LinkedIn's actually insane. The only way I can figure out for our business to comment on other people's stuff, LinkedIn, get your stuff together. You have to paste like a snippet of code into the toolbar, like, and just Google like how to comment as a business on other people's, pages. You have to like paste a snippet of code. I don't know, Ben, if you guys like have any resources that you can put in the chat, but it's insane that that's even a thing. So that's why you don't see a lot of people doing it. That's another thing, Gordon, that can make your business stand out. Have someone yourself or have someone on your team comment on the people that you want to do business with, comment on their stuff, on the stuff that their business is posting as your business. And then that's going to lead to so much traction because no one's doing it, because LinkedIn makes it so incredibly difficult to do that.
So you're saying create a business page and then comment from that business page, not from the personal page? Both.
Why not? Why not both? And I know that it's, if you're just getting started into doing this stuff, it's going to be intimidating because it's going to be so much work. But as you get used to it, like your definition of what a lot of work, it changes because you get more efficient, you get more knowledgeable at it, and hopefully it leads to more business. So now you're not the one doing it. You can pay someone else, to go ahead and do these types of things for you. And your definition of success changes a little bit. So as you start working with these different marketing companies, after you put a lot of this stuff into play, they tell you what they're going to do, which is spend, your money to figure out what works for your business. And that's so after we started doing a lot of this stuff, as we network and work with marketing companies, we're like, wait a second, we know how to do all this. And then we'd ask them like, hey, so what do you think about this? Like, oh, we don't even do that. I'm like, all right, cool. So like you start learning a lot of different things that a lot of companies that do this professionally don't know by leveraging some of those tips and tricks.
Got it. Thank you.
You are welcome.
We are getting close to 5:30, so one final call for any questions. If not, you have Dennis's information, so you can continue to connect with him. But I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Anya, who will wrap it up and get us going. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much, Ben. Thank you, everybody who stayed. Dennis, thank you so much for this great presentation. It's, we know it could be overwhelming. We know it's a lot, but I think one of the things that I took away from Dennis is like, you just have to start, right? Now you have some tools that you can purchase, as Dennis suggested, figure out what your budget is, how do you want to, how much you want to spend right now to start, and then just try it out. And eventually you'll figure it out whether it's something that, you can continue to do on your own, or maybe there are other resources, out there in the community that you can also take advantage of in regards to marketing. So we definitely encourage you to continue learning, come back to this video, to this recording, to just like go through it on your own and then start your plan in regards to video marketing. And also join us on February 22nd to learn more about email marketing, which is another big channel for reaching more customers, for reaching volume, and then just getting your brand out there, and for really to elevating that brand. So we really think that this, between video marketing and newsletter marketing, those are two good channels to start with. Connect with Dennis. There are more questions that he can answer. There are more things that he can share with you as an experienced entrepreneur, and then just like as a digital marketing himself expert. So just continue learning, and then I'll see you next time, everybody. Have a good evening, and see you next time.